Doyen wiped the grease from his hands and hummed softly. The tune was old, something his grandmother used to sing while cooking. He didn't think about it much. Humming just made the work go faster. The comm panel in front of him had been acting strange for 3 days now, refusing to connect properly with the ship's main systems. The Sabiak was humanity's first real attempt at deep space exploration. She was big, carrying 3,000 colonists in cryo-sleep and a crew of 200 awake to manage everything. Doyen was just a maintenance engineer. He fixed things when they broke. That was his job, and he was good at it. He twisted another wire into place and hummed a bit louder. The panel suddenly lit up with colors he'd never seen before. Symbols scrolled across the screen. Definitely not human writing. Doyen frowned and tapped the screen. It felt warm under his fingers. Captain?" Doyen spoke into his headset. "I think I just activated something weird." Captain Taewon's voice came back immediately. "Define weird, Doyen." "Like alien weird. The comm panel is showing symbols I don't recognize." There was silence for 3 seconds. Then Taewon's voice came back harder now. "Don't touch anything else. I'm sending Hijin down." Doyen pulled his hands back from the panel. The symbols kept scrolling. Some of them almost looked like musical notes, but stranger. He resisted the urge to hum again. Hijin arrived 5 minutes later, her dark eyes wide with excitement and fear. She was the ship's xenolinguist, the person who was supposed to figure out how to talk to aliens if they ever found any. Everyone thought that would be years away, maybe decades. "Show me," she said. Doyen pointed at the panel. "It started when I was humming. I was just trying to fix the connection issue." Hijin leaned close to the screen, her fingers hovering over the symbols but not touching. This is incredible. These patterns, they're almost like sound waves represented visually. "What were you humming?" "Just an old song." "Nothing special. Hum it again." Doyen felt embarrassed, but he hummed the tune. Immediately, the panel's display shifted. New symbols appeared, organizing themselves into clear patterns. The ship's main comm system activated, and suddenly a voice filled the corridor around them. It wasn't speaking any human language, but somehow the meaning was clear in their minds. "Unknown vessel. You have activated restricted communication protocols. Identify your species and authorization code." Hijin and Doyen stared at each other. First contact. It was actually happening. "This is the human vessel Sabiak," Hijin said carefully, speaking toward the panel. "We are from Earth. We don't have an authorization code. We didn't know anyone else was out here." The silence that followed felt heavy. Doyen counted 20 heartbeats before the voice returned. "Humans, searching database. No records found. Your technology signature is impossible. You are traveling without resonance gates. You are using individual broadcast methods. This should not be possible for sapient species. Maintain your position. A Velm collective vessel will intercept in 4 hours." The comm panel went dark. Hijin immediately ran for the bridge. Doyen followed her, his stomach tight with worry. Captain Taewon was already there, staring at the main view screen. The bridge crew sat at their stations, quiet and tense. "They're coming," Taewon said. "I'm waking up the military personnel from cryo. Hijin, I need you to prepare every first contact protocol we have." "Doyen, what exactly did you do to that panel?" "I just hummed," Doyen said helplessly. "I hum when I work. I've always done it. I don't understand why it mattered." "It mattered to them," Taewon said. "They said our technology signature is impossible." They sounded afraid. 4 hours passed slowly. The Sabiak held position while everyone prepared. Marines came out of cryo-sleep, groggy but armed. Scientists gathered their notes. Hijin rehearsed first contact speeches with a dry mouth and shaking hands. When the Velm ship arrived, it was beautiful and terrifying. It was 3 times the size of the Sabiak, made of something that looked like crystal and metal mixed together. It moved silently through space, positioning itself directly in front of the human ship. "Incoming transmission," the comm officer said. The view screen changed. A being appeared on screen. Doyen had imagined aliens many times in his life, but nothing prepared him for Thesara. She looked like a person made of living crystal, her body catching light and refracting it into rainbows. Behind her stood 50 more beings, various species, all facing forward in perfect formation. "Humans," Thesara said. Her voice was beautiful like wind chimes. "I am Grand Conductor Thesara of the Velm Collective. We have many questions for you." "We're happy to answer them," Hijin said, stepping forward. "I'm Hijin, our first contact specialist." Tell me how you travel between stars without resonance gates. We use conventional, faster-than-light drives. They manipulate space-time through controlled matter-antimatter reactions and— Impossible, Thessera interrupted. Show me your engine core. Taewon's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Doyen, take a team and broadcast from engineering. 10 minutes later, Doyen stood in the engine room with a camera drone hovering beside him. The massive drives hummed with power around him. He explained how they worked using simple terms. The Velm listeners were completely silent. You built this without songs, Thessera finally said. Without harmony. Without collective resonance. One of you could operate this alone. Well, yes, Doyen said. One person can manage the engines. It's easier with a team, but one person could do it in an emergency. The crystal being seemed to shimmer with emotion Doyen couldn't identify. Demonstrate your communication system activation again. The same method you used to contact us. Doyen looked at the camera drone. I just hummed. That's all I did. Then hum again. Feeling extremely self-conscious, Doyen hummed his grandmother's song. Around him, the engine displays flickered. The ship's system suddenly interfaced with something external. Readings appeared showing the Velm ship's power systems, its location, even its internal atmosphere composition. Information no human should have been able to access. Stop! Thessera's voice was sharp. Stop immediately. Doyen stopped humming. The displays returned to normal. On the view screen back on the bridge, Thessera turned to consult with her companions. Their conversation was silent, or at least not broadcast. When she turned back, her crystalline face was set in hard lines. The Velm Collective Council has made a decision. Your ship will accompany us to Velm Prime. You will not resist. You will not attempt to leave. You will not use your abilities until we understand what you are. Our abilities? Taewon stood. We're just humans. We're explorers. We mean no harm to anyone. That is what the Silent One said according to the oldest records, Thessera replied. 10,000 years ago, before they destroyed themselves and nearly took the galaxy with them. Your individual command of technology, your ability to bend reality without collective harmony. It matches the forbidden descriptions exactly. Until we understand whether you are truly a new species or something far more dangerous, you are quarantined. The transmission ended. Moments later, the Sabyok's engines stopped responding to commands. The ship was caught in some kind of field, being pulled along by the Velm vessel like a child's toy. Doyen stood in the engine room staring at his hands. He'd only been humming. Just a simple song his grandmother taught him. How could that possibly be dangerous? On the bridge, Taewon made the hardest decision of his career. He gave the order not to fight back, not yet, and the Sabyok followed the Velm ship toward an unknown fate, carrying 3,000 sleeping colonists who had no idea their dream of a new world had just become something far more complicated. The orbital dock around Velm Prime was massive. The Sabyok sat in a quarantine bay surrounded by force fields that glowed faintly blue. For 3 weeks, the crew had been confined to their ship. Food was delivered by automated drones. Questions were sent to the Velm Council, but answers came back slowly, if at all. Jiwon spent every waking hour in the ship's library, studying everything she could find about alien contact scenarios, ancient Earth mythology, and anything else that might help explain their situation. She was young, only 25, and being a historian on a colony ship had seemed like a quiet job. Now it felt like the most important job in the universe. There has to be a pattern, she muttered, scrolling through files. They keep calling us Silent Ones. They're afraid of individual control over technology. There's a connection here. Her sister, Kyungmin, looked up from her own workstation. Kyungmin was a physicist, always practical where Jiwon was theoretical. I've been running tests on our equipment, Kyungmin said. Every human I've tested can interface with alien technology to some degree. It's not just Doyen. What do you mean? Watch this. Kyungmin pulled up a piece of salvaged Velm technology, a small device the Velm had been using to monitor the ship. I'm going to tap a rhythm on the table. Just a simple beat. Kyungmin tapped her fingers. Tap, 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 tap. The Velm device lit up and began displaying information in human-readable text. Kyungmin stopped tapping and the device went dark again. I've tested 17 people so far, Kyungmin said. Everyone can do it. Some are better than others. The children are actually the strongest. Little Seo-hyun can activate devices just by being near them and thinking about what she wants them to do. Jiwon felt cold. The Velm can't know about this. If they think we're all like this, if they think children are even more powerful. I know. I've kept it quiet. But Jiwon, think about what this means. This isn't learned. This isn't technology. This is something about being human. Before Jiwon could respond, the ship's comm system activated. All personnel, we have a visitor. Her name is Yuna, she's human. The crew gathered in the main bay. Taewon stood at the front, his military bearing perfect but his eyes tired. Heejin stood beside him looking anxious. When the airlock opened, a young woman stepped through. She looked human, Korean like many of the crew. But she wore Velm clothing and moved with an alien grace. My name is Yuna, she said in perfect Korean. I was found drifting in space 30 years ago. The Velm raised me. I'm here to observe you and report back to the council. Doyen stepped forward. You're human. How can you work with them? They're holding us prisoner. Yuna's expression was complicated. They're afraid. You have to understand, in all of Velm space, in all the known galaxy, no species can use technology alone. It requires harmony, multiple voices working together. The Velm need 50 trained singers just to do what you do by humming. When you appeared doing the impossible, it reminded them of their worst nightmare. The Silent Ones, Jiwon said. Yuna looked at her sharply. You know that name? Only from the Velm transmissions. Who were they? For a moment, Yuna seemed to struggle with herself. Then she spoke quietly. I'll tell you, but you must understand this is forbidden knowledge. The Silent Ones were the first civilization in the galaxy. 10,000 years ago, they ruled everything. They could control reality with individual will. One person could move planets. One person could create or destroy stars. They had no need for cooperation or harmony. What happened to them? Hyejin asked. They destroyed themselves. War broke out over resources, over pride, over 1,000 reasons. Individuals with the power of gods fought each other, and the galaxy burned. In the end, they realized they couldn't be trusted with such power. So they did something. The records are unclear, but somehow they changed themselves. They split into different species. They made it so that power required cooperation, required harmony, required many voices together. They became the current galactic species, Jiwon whispered. That's why everyone needs collective singing or harmony to use technology. Yuna nodded. The resonance gates, the technology everyone uses, it's all built on harmony. It's safe because no single person can use it. No single person can become a tyrant. The Silent Ones sacrifice themselves to save the galaxy from themselves. But we're human, Doyen said. We're not these Silent Ones, are you sure? Yuna asked. Where does humanity come from? Your own records show gaps. You appeared on Earth with no clear evolutionary path. You have myths about coming from the stars. What if you're what the Silent Ones left behind? What if you're the sleeper species? The ones who were supposed to wake up after the danger was past. The silence in the bay was absolute. Taewon finally spoke. What does the council plan to do with us? Yuna looked away. There's a vault on the dead world of Koresh. It's covered in the symbols of the Silent Ones. For thousands of years, every species has tried to open it. Nothing works. Songs don't work. Force doesn't work. The council thinks you might be able to open it. And after we open it? Taewon pressed. Yuna met his eyes. I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm human, even if I was raised by the Velm. After you open the vault, the council plans to eliminate you. They can't risk the Silent Ones returning. Hyejin grabbed the edge of a console. They're going to kill us all? The children too? They're afraid, Yuna said. Fear makes people do terrible things. I came here to warn you. I don't know what we can do, but I couldn't let them do this without you knowing. Minho, the security chief, stepped forward. He was a large man with steady hands. We could fight. We have weapons. We have a ship. Against the entire Velm collective? Taewon shook his head. We'd be destroyed in minutes. Then we open their vault, Jiwon said. Everyone turned to look at her. We open the vault and find out the truth. Maybe there's something inside that can help us. Maybe we find proof we're not dangerous. Maybe we find a way to communicate better with the Velm. Or maybe we find weapons, Minho said quietly. No. Doyen surprised everyone by speaking firmly. I don't want to be a weapon. I just want to fix things and go home. If we use weapons, we become what they fear. We prove them right. Yuna looked at Doyen with something like hope in her eyes. The council has already decided. You're going to Koresh whether you agree or not. But how you handle what you find there, that's your choice. Over the next few days, preparations were made. Taewon negotiated terms with Thesera. A small team would go to Koresh. Doyeon, Kyungmin, Hyejin, Minho, and one other person. Taewon wanted to go himself, but Thesera refused. She wanted the ship's captain as a hostage to ensure cooperation. The fifth person chosen was Seo-hyun. She was only 8 years old, small for her age, with bright eyes and a curious nature. Her mother cried when Taewon told her. "Why does it have to be a child?" her mother demanded. "Because children are better at this than adults," Kyungmin said gently. "Because she might be our best chance. I'll protect her with my life. I promise." The day before they left, Yuna found Doyeon in the observation deck. He was looking out at Velm Prime, a planet covered in crystal spires that sang with light. "Do you hate me?" Yuna asked. "For being raised by them?" "No," Doyeon said. "You're trying to help. That's more than anyone else is doing. I feel caught between two worlds. I'm human by birth, but Velm by upbringing. When I look at all of you, I see something I lost and can't remember." "Family," Doyeon said. "That's what you see. Whatever happens on Koresh, you're one of us now. You chose to warn us. That makes you family." Yuna smiled, and for the first time since arriving, she looked truly happy. The next morning, the team departed for Koresh. The planet appeared on screens as they approached, dead and gray, covered in ruins that looked like frozen music. At the center of the largest continent sat the vault, massive and dark, covered in patterns that hurt to look at too long. Thesera's voice came over the comm. 50 Velm expeditions have tried to enter this place. All have failed. If you fail, it proves you're not connected to the Silent Ones. If you succeed—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Everyone knew what success would mean. The surface of Koresh was cold and still. No wind blew across the gray plains. No life grew in the crystallized soil. The ruins stretched in every direction, structures that looked like they'd been built from frozen sound waves. Doyeon stood at the entrance to the vault and felt very small. Thesera and her choir of 50 Velm singers surrounded them. Each singer wore ceremonial robes that glowed faintly. They'd been humming in perfect harmony for the past hour, trying to make the vault respond. Nothing happened. The dark surface remained dark. "Your turn," Thesera said, stopping her choir. The sudden silence felt heavy. Seo-hyun held Kyungmin's hand tightly. The little girl looked at the massive vault doors, patterns covering them that seemed to shift and change when you weren't looking directly at them. "What do I do?" Seo-hyun asked in a small voice. "Just be yourself," Kyungmin said softly. "Sing a song you like. Don't force anything." Seo-hyun stepped forward. She was so small compared to the vault, like a flower in front of a mountain. She thought for a moment, then began to sing. It was a children's song her grandmother had taught her, about a rabbit that lived on the moon. The vault responded immediately. Light bloomed across the patterns, following the rhythm of Seo-hyun's voice. The massive doors, which hadn't moved in thousands of years, began to open with a sound like distant thunder. Thesera's choir gasped in perfect unison. Minho moved protectively closer to Seo-hyun. Doyeon felt his heart hammering in his chest. Yuna grabbed Hyejin's arm, her face showing pure shock. "Impossible," Thesera whispered. "A child." A single child's voice did what 50 trained grand conductors could not. Corridors of light appeared inside the vault, leading deep into darkness. Seo-hyun stopped singing and looked back at the adults, uncertain. Kyungmin picked her up, holding her close. "We'll go together." Taewon's voice came through their comm units. He was watching from the ship in orbit. "Everyone stays together. If anything seems dangerous, you retreat immediately." The team moved forward. Toyin went first, followed by Minho with his weapon ready. Kyungmin carried Seo-hyun. Hyejin walked beside Yuna, and Thesera followed with 10 of her choir members. The rest stayed outside, watching. Inside the vault, the air felt thick with time. The corridors were wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side. Lights appeared in the walls as they passed, responding to their presence. Symbols covered everything, but these were different from outside. "These were readable. I can understand them," Hyejin said, stopping to touch a wall. "Not with my eyes, but with my mind. These are memories." "This place is a giant memory storage facility." "Memories of what?" Minho asked, scanning the shadows for threats. "Everything. The entire history of the Silent Ones. Let me try to access them." Hyejin placed both hands on the wall and closed her eyes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then light flowed from the wall into the corridor, forming shapes. Holographic images appeared around them, showing cities of impossible beauty, beings that looked almost human moving through lives of peace and plenty. This was the beginning, Hyejin said, her voice distant. When the Silent Ones first achieved consciousness, they were one species then, unified. They could touch reality with their thoughts. One person could create art that lasted centuries. One person could heal any injury. One person could travel between stars with just their will. The images shifted. Now they showed conflict, arguments, disagreements, small at first, then growing. But individual power meant individual choice, Hyejin continued, and individuals always disagree. Some wanted to expand across the galaxy. Others wanted to stay home. Some wanted to modify themselves into new forms. Others wanted to remain as they were. Every disagreement between people with godlike power became a potential disaster. The holograms showed war. Planets burning. Stars going dark. Reality itself seeming to tear apart in places where powerful beings fought. Doyen had to look away. Beside him, Seo-hyun buried her face in Kyungmin's shoulder. They killed billions, Hyejin said, tears running down her face. Their war lasted 300 years. In the end, barely 1 million Silent Ones survived. They looked at what they'd done and realized they couldn't be trusted with their own power. The images changed again. Now they showed the Silent Ones working together for the first time in centuries. They were building something, modifying themselves at a genetic level. They split themselves into different species, Yuna said, understanding flowing through her. They deliberately limited their abilities. Most of them became the ancestors of the current galactic species. They made it so the technology and power required harmony, required cooperation, required multiple voices working together. The Sarah moved closer, her crystalline face reflecting the holographic light. We are their children. The Velm, the Koresh, the Thin, all the species of the collective. We're all fragments of what the Silent Ones used to be. But not all of them changed, Kyungmin said. She was looking at a different image. Some disagreed even with this solution. They thought the answer wasn't to limit power, but to learn wisdom. They thought future generations might handle individual power better than they did. The hologram showed ships being built. Generation ships, massive and slow, designed to travel at sublight speeds. They sealed themselves away, Doyen said. Those who wanted to try again. They put themselves in sleep and sent their ships out into the void. They programmed the ships to wake them up after 10,000 years when the trauma of the war would be ancient history. Earth, Hyejin whispered. They went to Earth. The ships must have crashed or malfunctioned. The survivors lost their technology, lost their memories, had to start over. But the genetic ability remained dormant. We're them, Yuna said. Humans are the descendants of the Silent Ones who refused to limit themselves. We're the ones who believed in the possibility of doing better. The implications hit everyone at once. Humans weren't newcomers to the galaxy. They were returnees. They were the children of the very beings who had nearly destroyed everything, sent forward in time to see if the second chance would work. The Sara made a sound like breaking glass. This changes everything. The council must know. The entire collective must know. Wait, Minho said. He'd moved deeper into the vault. There's more here. These aren't just memories. These are instructions. They followed him to a circular chamber at the vault's heart. In the center floated something that looked like a seed made of light. Around it, symbols rotated slowly, explaining its purpose. It's a Genesis device, Kyungmin breathed, reading the symbols. The Silent Ones left these throughout the galaxy. They're not weapons. They're tools for creating new worlds, for building new civilizations, for helping life flourish. They can terraform dead planets, create atmospheres, even help evolution along new paths. There are hundreds of vaults like this across the galaxy, Hyejin read from another wall. Each one contains a Genesis seed and the complete history of the Silent Ones. They left them as gifts for their descendants. For all their descendants, human and otherwise. Seo-hyun squirmed in Kyungmin's arms. Put me down, please. Kyungmin set her down carefully. Seo-hyun walked to the Genesis seed and reached out her small hand. Before anyone could stop her, she touched it. The seed flared with light and knowledge flowed into all of them. They saw the truth completely now. The Silent Ones hadn't just split themselves into different species. They'd designed the galaxy to eventually reunite. The Genesis seeds would only activate when both kinds of descendants were present, when individual power and collective harmony worked together. The seeds were locked until humans and the collective species learned to cooperate. We were meant to find each other, Doyen said. This whole thing, the entire 10,000 years it was all leading to now. Thesara stood very still. I must inform the council. This is not what we expected. You're not a threat. You're part of the solution. Some won't believe it, Yuna said quietly. Some will say it's a trick. Some will still want to eliminate humans rather than risk the past repeating. Then we must make them understand, Thesara said. She activated her communication device. This is Grand Conductor Thesara. I'm broadcasting from inside the vault on Koresh. All collective members must hear this message. She began to explain what they'd found. Her voice carried across space to Velm Prime, to the ships in orbit, to stations throughout the sector. Doyen listened to her describe the truth with growing hope. But in orbit around Koresh, another fleet was arriving. Ships marked with the symbols of the Velm hardline faction, those who believed in eliminating threats before they could grow strong. Their commander had been listening to Thesara's broadcast. Lies, the commander said. Obviously lies planted by the Silent Ones to trick us. The humans must be destroyed. The vault must be sealed forever. Launch all weapons. As Thesara finished her explanation, alarms began to blare. The massive hardline fleet powered up weapons capable of destroying the entire planet. Inside the vault, Doyen looked at Seo-hyun. The little girl looked back at him with eyes too wise for her age. We have to stop them, Seo-hyun said. Not with fighting. With singing. How? Doyen asked. Seo-hyun smiled. You'll see. Start humming, Doyen. Hum your grandmother's song. Everyone join in. And as the weapons charged in space above them, Doyen began to hum. The broadcast from Koresh spread across the galaxy like ripples in water. Thesara's message played on every station in every ship, across every world connected to the Velm collective network. The truth about the Silent Ones, about humans, about the vaults and the Genesis seeds became public knowledge in a matter of hours. The response was chaos. On Velm Prime, riots broke out. Some citizens celebrated the revelation, calling it proof that the galaxy could move beyond its traumatic past. Others called it lies and demanded immediate military action against all humans. The Velm Council held emergency sessions that lasted for days with no consensus. Aboard the Sebiok, Taewon watched the situation deteriorate through reports flooding his screens. 3 different Velm factions had declared their positions. The reformists wanted to welcome humans as long-lost cousins and begin integration immediately. The conservatives wanted strict controls and gradual acceptance. The hardliners wanted complete elimination of all humans before the Silent One threat could manifest. The hardline fleet was growing. Ships gathered from across 3 sectors, all converging on Koresh. Their commander broadcast on all channels. We will not allow history to repeat. The Silent Ones destroyed the galaxy once. We will not give their descendants the chance to do it again. How many ships? Taewon asked his tactical officer. 200 and counting, Captain. We're outnumbered 20 to 1. Even with the reformist ships that are coming to help, we can't win a direct fight. In her quarters, Yoonji listened to the same reports with growing anger. She was one of the Sebiok's mechanics, a practical woman who'd signed up for the colony mission to build a new life. Now that life seemed impossible. We're not helpless, she said to a gathering of crew members in the mess hall. We have abilities the Velm don't. We can access the vaults. We can activate the Genesis seeds. Why are we waiting for them to attack? Why aren't we defending ourselves? Because Captain Taewon ordered us not to, someone responded. The captain is trying to keep us alive through politics. But politics only works when both sides want peace. The hardliners want us dead. We should activate the vault defenses. We should show them we're not easy prey. Her words found support among some crew members. Fear and anger made people want to act, want to fight back. Within days, a split formed on the ship. Some supported Taewon's cautious approach. Others followed Unji's call for immediate action. On the surface of Koresh, the team worked with Thesara and the reformist Velm to understand more of the vault's systems. Soman, a Velm scientist, worked closely with Kyungmin. They discovered something important. The Genesis seeds aren't just for creating worlds, Soman explained, her crystalline fingers moving over holographic controls. They're teaching tools. They can interface with both human and Velm neural patterns. We could use them to help both species understand each other better. Kyungmin nodded excitedly. It's more than that. Look at these power readings. When humans and Velm work together on the vault systems, the efficiency increases exponentially. A human provides the intuitive connection, the individual spark. The Velm provide the harmonic structure, the collective focus. Together we achieve things neither could do alone. The Silent Ones designed it this way deliberately, Somin said. They wanted their descendants to need each other. But peaceful research was increasingly difficult. The hardline fleet arrived in orbit after 2 weeks. Their commander refused all communication from Thesara, weapons charged, shields powered up. The fleet arranged itself in attack formation around Koresh. Taewon made a decision. He brought the Sabiok down to the surface, landing near the vault. If the hardliners attacked, at least the ship wouldn't be defenseless in space. Yuna found herself mediating between human crew members and Velm scientists constantly. She understood both perspectives. The humans were frightened, far from home, facing possible extinction. The Velm were terrified of repeating ancient trauma, of trusting beings who might become monsters. We're all afraid, she said at one particularly tense meeting, but fear is what caused the original disaster. The Silent Ones were afraid of losing their individual power. They fought wars because they were afraid of being controlled by others. Fear is what we must overcome, not each other. Her words helped, but they couldn't solve everything. The hardline fleet began running attack simulations. Their commander broadcast increasingly aggressive messages. We have located 17 more vaults on other worlds. We are sending teams to destroy them. We will eliminate every trace of Silent One technology. We will ensure the safety of the galaxy. Aboard the Sabiok, Yunji and her supporters made their move. They snuck away from the main camp and entered a different section of the vault. There they found what they were looking for: weapon systems that responded to human thought, ancient defenses that could protect against any attack. We just need to activate them, Yunji said to her team. Then the hardliners will see we're serious. They'll back off. But Doyen found them before they could act. He'd been monitoring the vault systems and noticed the unusual access. Don't do this, Doyen pleaded. If we use these weapons, we become what they fear. We prove them right. They're going to kill us anyway, Yunji said. At least this way we survive. At what cost? Doyen gestured to the weapon systems around them. These aren't just shields. These are planet killers. If we activate them, if we show we're willing to use them, every species in the galaxy will unite against us. We'll start the cycle all over again. So what do? Just wait to die? We find another way. Please, Yunji, trust me. Trust Captain Taewon. We're so close to a real solution. Yunji looked at the weapons, then at Doyen. Finally, she stepped back. You better be right about this, but time was running out. The hardline commander issued an ultimatum. All humans will evacuate Koresh within 24 hours. The planet will be destroyed to eliminate the vault. If humans do not leave, they will be destroyed with it. This is not negotiable. Thesara confronted the commander on an open channel. You're acting against the Velm Council's authority. You're risking war with the reformist faction. Stand down immediately. The council is compromised by sentiment, the commander responded. We act to save the galaxy from its greatest threat. History will thank us, Taewon gathered his command staff. Options? We can't fight them, Minho said. We can't run far enough fast enough. We can't hide on the planet because they'll just destroy it. We could activate the vault defenses, Yunji said quietly. I know where they are. No, Taewon said firmly. We become the enemy the moment we do that. Then what? Minho demanded. Yejin had been quiet, thinking. Now she spoke. Thesara said the vault systems respond better when humans and Velm work together. What if we demonstrate that? What if we show them cooperation creating something instead of conflict destroying something? Show them how? Taewon asked. The Genesis Seed. We activate it, not as a weapon, but as a tool. We show them what humans and Velm can create together. We show them the future the Silent Ones hoped for. Kyungmin leaned forward. Koresh is dead. It's been dead for thousands of years. What if we use the Genesis Seed to bring it back to life, in front of everyone watching? A demonstration that we're not destroyers, we're builders. Salman, listening via communicator, added her voice. It would require perfect cooperation. Humans providing the activation, Velm providing the harmonic guidance. If it works, it would be proof that we're meant to work together. And if it doesn't work, Minho asked. Then at least we tried something beautiful before the end, Yuna said. Taewon looked around at his crew, at the Velm scientists who'd become allies, at Seohyun who watched everything with those two wise eyes. He made his choice, do it. We have 24 hours. Make it count. The work began immediately. Kyungmin and Sumin worked out the technical requirements. Hyejin coordinated with reformist Velm ships to provide the harmonic structure needed. Doyen worked with the vault systems to prepare the Genesis seed for activation. Thesara gathered every singer she could, hundreds of Velm willing to risk everything for a chance at peace. As the deadline approached, two fleets faced each other in orbit. The hardliners on one side, weapons ready. The reformists on the other, shields up but weapons offline. Between them, Koresh waited, dead and gray. Aboard the Sebyok, Seohyun prepared for her part. She would provide the initial spark, the human voice that would wake the Genesis seed. The Velm choirs would provide the structure, the harmonic patterns that would guide the seed's power across an entire world. "Are you scared?" Yuna asked the little girl. "Yes," Seohyun said honestly. "But Grandma used to say being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing what's right even when you're scared." Your grandma was wise. She taught me the song I'm going to sing. It's about flowers growing after winter, about life coming back after death. It seemed right. As the deadline reached its final hour, the hardline commander gave the order, "Fire!" And as the weapons charged, Seohyun began to sing. Seohyun's voice was small and clear in the vault chamber. She sang about flowers pushing through frozen ground, about spring following winter, about life that refused to stop. Her grandmother's song, passed down through generations, now carrying the hope of two species. The Genesis seed responded instantly. Light poured from it, not aggressive but gentle, like sunrise. The seed rose from its pedestal and began to glow brighter. In orbit, the hardline weapons finished charging, energy built to devastating levels. The commander's finger moved toward the firing control, but Thesara and her choir of 300 Velm singers began their part. Their voices rose in perfect harmony, catching Seohyun's simple melody and weaving it into something more complex. They didn't drown out the child's voice but built upon it, creating layers of sound that resonated with the frequencies the Genesis seed needed. The seed's light expanded, flowing out of the vault and across Koresh's dead surface. Where the light touched, change began. Gray soil darkened and grew rich. Crystallized rocks softened. The very air began to shift, molecules rearranging into breathable atmosphere. "Hold fire," someone on the hardline flagship said. "Commander, look at the planet." The commander watched his view screen as Koresh transformed. It was impossible to look away, impossible to ignore what was happening. On the Sebyok's bridge, Doyen stood with Kyungmin, Hyejin, and Minho. They'd started humming along with Seohyun's song, and now other crew members joined in. Not singing, the same complex harmonies as the Velm, but providing something else, a foundation, a rhythm, a heartbeat that the Velm harmonies could build upon. Yuna stood between the two groups, human and Velm, and she hummed with both patterns. Her voice bridged the gap, showing how the two approaches could merge rather than clash. More Velm began joining the song, not just the Sarah's trained singers but ordinary Velm throughout the fleet. On the reformist ships, crews added their voices. The song spread through subspace communication, and on Velm Prime, millions began to hum along. The Genesis seed's power multiplied exponentially. What should have taken years happened in minutes. Koresh's dead oceans filled with water. Continents sprouted vegetation, simple at first, but growing more complex as the song continued. Clouds formed in the new atmosphere. Rain began to fall on soil that hadn't felt water in 10,000 years. The hardline commander stared at his screens. His weapons were still charged, still ready. One command and he could end this. Could destroy the planet and everyone on it. Could protect the galaxy from the threat of a new Silent One's rising, but he couldn't give the order. Because what he was watching wasn't destruction or conquest. It was creation. It was humans and Velm working together to bring life where there had been only death. "Sir, should we fire?" his weapons officer asked. The commander's hand hovered over the control. Every instinct told him humans were dangerous. Every lesson from history said individual power led to catastrophe. But history also said the Silent Ones had destroyed themselves fighting. What he was witnessing was the opposite of fighting. "Sir?" On Koresh, flowers began to bloom. Actual flowers, growing from seeds the Genesis device had created, spreading in waves of color across gray plains that were gray no longer. The song continued, Humans humming their simple melodies while Velm wove complex harmonies above them, either drowning out the other. Both necessary, both beautiful together. The commander closed his eyes. "Power down weapons," he said quietly. "Sir, power down all weapons. We're not firing today." Throughout the hardline fleet, weapons went offline. Ships held position but made no aggressive moves. The crisis balanced on a knife's edge. On the surface, Seo-hyun's song reached its conclusion. She sang about flowers fully bloomed, about spring triumphant, about life celebrating itself. The genesis. Seed's light reached its peak, then gently faded, its work complete. The seed returned to its pedestal, dormant again but satisfied. The singers stopped one by one. The silence that followed felt sacred. Koresh was alive, completely alive. A planet that had been dead for millennia now had oceans, forests, breathable air, and ecosystems developing before everyone's eyes. And it had happened because humans and Velm had worked together, each providing what the other couldn't. The commander of the hardline fleet activated his communicator. "This is Fleet Commander Dekresh. I'm requesting permission to speak with the human Captain Taewon and Grand Conductor Thesara." Taewon responded immediately. "This is Captain Taewon, I'm listening." "What you've done here today," Dekresh said slowly, "it's not what I expected. I came here believing humans were a threat that needed elimination. But you didn't fight back. You didn't use the weapons I know you found in the vault. Instead, you created life. You proved that cooperation between our species creates more than either could achieve alone." "That was the point," Taewon said. "The Silent Ones didn't fail because they were powerful. They failed because they forgot how to work together. We don't want to repeat their mistake." "I need time," Dekresh said. "Time to think. Time to consult with my fleet. But I'm ordering all ships to stand down. There will be no attack today." Thesara spoke next. "Commander Dekresh, your willingness to reconsider gives me hope. The Velm Council will want to meet with you and with Captain Taewon. We have much to discuss about the future." Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to change. The truth about the Silent Ones, about humans, about the vaults and what they contained, spread everywhere. Fear remained, but it was gradually being balanced by hope and curiosity. More vaults were opened, always by teams of humans and Velm working together. More Genesis seeds were activated, bringing life to dead worlds. Hardliners slowly became conservatives. Conservatives became reformists, and reformists began dreaming of integration. Doyun returned to his maintenance work aboard the Saebyok, but now he often worked alongside Velm engineers. They taught him their harmonic techniques. He taught them his intuitive approach. Together they developed new methods that combined both, creating technology that was more efficient and more stable than either species could build alone. Hyejin established the first embassy between humans and the Velm Collective. Yuna worked with her, using her unique perspective to bridge cultural gaps. They created exchange programs, bringing young humans to Velm worlds and young Velm to Earth and its colonies. Taewon accepted a position as joint commander of a new combined fleet, humans and Velm serving together. Minyo became his second in command, training crews in the benefits of diverse perspectives. Kyungmin and Somin founded a research institute on the reborn Koresh. They studied the Genesis seeds, the ancient technology, and the ways human and Velm abilities complemented each other. Scientists from a dozen species joined them, all working together to understand their shared heritage. Seo-hyun returned to being a normal child, though she was famous across the galaxy as the first voice, the one who'd started the song that changed everything. She handled it well, still bright and curious, still asking questions about everything. Her mother watched her grow with pride and relief. Yoonji, who'd wanted to fight, became a vocal advocate for peaceful cooperation. She'd learned that strength wasn't about weapons but about the courage to choose creation over destruction. Not everyone accepted the new reality. Some humans resented being descendants rather than unique. Some Velm still feared human abilities. There were protests, arguments, occasional violence. Change was never easy. But slowly, steadily, a new culture emerged. one where individual human intuition combined with Velm collective harmony created something neither could achieve alone. One where differences were celebrated rather than feared. 5 years after first contact, the Sabiok finally reached its original destination, a planet perfect for colonization. But the colony they built there wasn't just human. Velm families joined them, along with other species from the collective. The settlement was built using hybrid technology, where human engineers hummed their intuitive commands while Velm choirs provided harmonic structure. Doyen stood in the main square of the new colony, watching children play. Human children and Velm children together, teaching each other their different ways of interacting with the world. A human child hummed a tune and a toy activated. A Velm child sang harmony and the toy performed a more complex function. Together they laughed and created games that neither species had imagined alone. Your grandmother would be proud, Una said, approaching him. She'd become a permanent member of the crew, family in truth as well as words. She just taught me to hum while I worked, Doyen said. She never imagined this. Maybe she did, Una suggested. Maybe somewhere in human memory, we knew we were meant to sing with others. That's why music is universal among humans. Why every culture creates songs. We were remembering something we'd forgotten. The silent ones split themselves apart because they couldn't work together, Doyen said. We're proving they were right to hope their descendants could do better. Across the galaxy, the song continued. Not one song, but millions, each unique, each adding to the greater harmony. Humans hummed their simple melodies. Velm wove their complex patterns. Other species contributed their own voices. And together they created a civilization more beautiful than any the galaxy had seen. The ancient vaults opened one by one, each releasing tools for creation rather than destruction. New worlds bloomed with life. New technologies emerged from cooperation. New art forms developed that blended individual expression with collective harmony. The Galactic Choir, as it came to be called, sang not of lost heroes but of present ones. Every person who chose cooperation over conflict, creation over destruction, hope over fear. They were all heroes of the new age. And sometimes, in quiet moments, people swore they could hear an echo of the original silent ones in the galactic song. Not a warning, but a blessing. Not regret, but satisfaction. They had sacrificed themselves to save the galaxy from themselves. And 10,000 years later, their descendants had proven worthy of that sacrifice. Doyen hummed as he worked, maintaining the systems that kept the colony running. Around him, Velm sang their harmonies, adding structure to his intuitive commands. Together, they kept the lights on, the air flowing, the water clean. The instruments, all the technology scattered across 100 worlds, obeyed not through force or fear, but through cooperation. Individual will and collective harmony, working together, creating something neither could build alone. And the galaxy, for the first time in recorded history, was at peace. Not the peace of silence or submission, but the peace of harmony. Every voice important, every note necessary. The song would continue. The song would grow. And somewhere among the stars, the spirit of the silent ones listened and smiled, knowing their greatest creation wasn't technology or power, but the children who'd learned to sing together. Seohyun, now 13, studied genetics at the New Institute. She'd decided she wanted to understand life at its deepest levels, to learn how the Genesis seeds created such complex beauty. She still sang her grandmother's songs, but now she also composed new ones, melodies that blended human and Velm musical traditions into something unique. The future stretched ahead, bright and uncertain. There would be challenges. There would be setbacks. There would be moments when fear threatened to overcome hope. But there would also be songs. Always songs. Humans humming their intuitive melodies, Velm weaving their harmonic structures, other species adding their unique voices. And the instruments would obey, not because they had to, but because the music they helped create was too beautiful to resist.